the hardwood because you hit me up about a couple months ago. That's how we sort of got back in touch again about the NBA. And I've been saying that the NBA is in a weird, odd space right now. Like they are hanging on to nostalgia, right? With LeBron and Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, and for a league that used to be all about marketing its young stars, and we always praised them, and we said that they're the opposite of baseball, the way they market their stars. It feels like to me they've been a little bit hesitant on, putting Anthony Edwards and your SGAs and even Jokic somewhat and a Jason Tatum maybe. And I don't know if it's personality wise and whatnot. And I do think that, with the evolution of the 3-point shot and seemingly everybody now being able to spread the floor, five guys at a time, shoot the free ball, everybody is playing seemingly the same way. And I think that the fact that these superstars are not playing a lot of back to backs, even with the ability of Luca coming over to LA and obviously Jimmy Butler going to Golden State, like the NBA postseason now feels like a completely different sport than the regular season. And to me, that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly agree with you on this, Brandon. Like, I mean, we discussed this before. I mean, the NBA is showing, they're not, the great product that they once were about 10 years ago with everything going on. I mean, you mentioned the superstars. Yeah, I mean, LeBron, he's averaging 24 games still at the age of 40, which is still impressive, but he's not, we don't know how much longer LeBron's going to stay in the NBA. Same thing with Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. They're both getting up in age too. And then they're trying to find that new Michael Jordan, LeBron type player who can be the face of the league. And as you look at the players, young stars right now, Zion's definitely out. He didn't really care too much about to take care of his weight or health. John Morant has off the court issues. Jokic, guy plays good and everything, but he's that only sport
Jokic
athlete.
cares
Most
more
people,
about horse
he,
racing than his own
yeah,
profession.
he cares. He views playing in the NBA as just like any other person, going to their 9 to 5 job. Tatum, he's done some cringe things, trying to be like other superstars. And then I don't get why, Donovan Mitchell's been a star in the league for a while and they're not really marketing him that much. It's just like, you also don't have the high top college prospect or even high school
No,
prospect,
and
You
that
don't
that's
have
the
that either.
and I
That's another
completely
thing.
agree with you. And that's the point here. And it kind of ties into college basketball a little bit. And I know that we're getting into March Madness season. Me and you had talked before the show. We didn't really feel like diving into March Madness that much because we're sort of getting in the conference tournament time. But I had said, and so that for whatever reason, over the past few years, Adam Silver in the NBA have, unlike the NFL, seemingly neglected college basketball. They care more about overseas. They care more about the G League, and it's really hurt college basketball. Where it's like, to me, college basketball is now a 3 week sport. Excuse me, it's a conference tournament and the March Madness tournament, and so you get to the NBA draft, and like last year's NBA draft, nobody cared because nobody knew who the hell any of these guys were.
Yeah, it's totally true. Nobody knew who Henry was. A lot of focus is on the overseas play now, as you see a lot of more European players. I mean, some guys just get called up through the G League and things, and it's kind of like turning into almost baseball a little bit. Baseball, a lot of overseas players. A lot of them from the Dominican and South America and Japan, and then you also the G League is turning into like the minor leagues. I
Yeah,
mean, it is a minor league sport, but it's like turning into like, oh, let's just we'll draft a guy in college. Oh, he might not be NBA ready. Let's have him develop in the G League and see
yeah,
if he can
and it's
get called
hard when
up.
you draft in the
Yeah,
NBA because, like in the NFL, right? These guys come in, they're 20, 22 years old. We watch all these stars in college, right? Like we watch Caleb Williams, we watch Shane Daniels, we watch Marvin Harrison, we watch Jalen Carter. We watch, Miles Garrett, we watch Jalen Ray. Like, go back, name any star player in the NFL, we watch them. College basketball, that's not really the case. Um, and to me, again, it's hurt the NBA product as a whole. But let me ask you. So, a couple weeks ago on the show, I did a whole show. I dedicated about 40 minutes to it. I did a complete plan. I said, if I am Adam Silver, I'm acting as the NBA commissioner, excuse me. Here's what I would do to fix the league. Are there any major like structural changes, any rule changes, anything you think the NBA should do?
For one, like I heard, maybe don't maybe only have the 3 point line going sideline to sideline. Don't have the corner threes or anything. That's something I heard. Um, you know, maybe be a little strict, on load management of these players. As we all know, there's players like Joel Embiid and Kawhi Leonard who sit out for back-to-back games with something, or some injury. I mean, is it true? Who knows? Um, it's just, the product has really gone downhill. Been watching a little bit more of the NHL. That Four Nations All Star
Most viewed
Series
hockey
ended.
game
That was
ever.
most viewed. That was a great, series. Every team was battling the country, and then you look at the NBA All Star Weekend. People barely watched it. Wasn't that exciting? Chris Paul and Wembanyama doing their weird, not following the rules and skill challenge,
Hey,
and
I
it's
liked it. At
just,
least they tried to cheat the rules. I mean,
yeah, they tried to
I,
beat the
I
system.
can't believe the NBA did not let Elio Force on TNT interview them. Like, what the hell was that about?
I
I,
I
I, that again, another major problem with the NBA where they try to protect their players. Um, you mentioned the four nations and stuff, so I'll get back to my ways to fix the NBA in a second. But since you brought it up, I want to say this. This may be a hot take. It may be controversial. You don't have to comment on my thoughts if you don't want to. But in my opinion, I think the Four Nations thing works for hockey because I think that hockey has always felt like Canada's sport, right? And patriotism and US versus Canada, we know it's an all-time high right now, etc. I don't know if it would work that well in the NBA because I just feel like between what we saw in the NBA bubble a few years ago, we know most of the guys' stances, obviously on political issues. Like it just doesn't feel like the NBA players to me would fight as hard for US versus Canada or US versus because I feel like everybody is sort of all buddy buddy and it's not really a patriotism thing as it is more so in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I just, basketball's another global sport. I mean, it's right up there with soccer. I mean, a lot of countries play it. You've seen the NBA's gotten more global, with a lot of European, Canadian, even African players. So it has gotten to be more of a global sport than it was 50 years ago.
For sure. So okay, let me talk to you a little bit about my proposals for the way to fix the NBA. You can tell me if you think I'm nuts, tell me if you like the idea, etc. So with the four, or excuse me, with the 3 point line, instead of them shaving it down, moving it to the corners, what I said is I am very annoyed by the late game fouling in the NBA. I think it takes 30 minutes to finish the last 2 minutes of an NBA game. I think it's ridiculous. So one of my solutions is, everybody in the NBA, right? We all know shooting, the range is more crazier than ever. We know these guys can make incredible shots. Well, why don't we just say every shot beyond half court? That way we're not creating a new line, etc. Every new or every shot beyond half court is worth four.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool idea. It's just how often like are you gonna get just players just pulling up from half court
Well,
and then
here's
ball goes off the
well,
rim and it's just a rebound
this
battle
is
and
what I think. If you have a game and it's a 20-second, left on the clock and it's a 4 point game, it's interesting strategy because it's like, do you foul? Right? Does the team down four? Do they try to get a quick two? Do they try to get a free? Or do they have a guy, like a Curry or whoever that can maybe try a half court shot or what have you?
yeah, I mean that's interesting. I mean, just me personally, I still play pickup ball here and there, and I'm more
Yeah.
of a shooter. I'm not a tall guy. I am also not as fast as I used to been, so I don't really drive to the basket that much because I know if I do, I just get rejected. So I can honestly see, why it's a shooting game, especially for smaller players, undersized guys too.
Here's my other kind of big rule change, which I think could be interesting, could again change strategy. When you foul somebody, you cannot substitute. I think they, in between free throws, you should not be able to substitute. I think it's ridiculous. I think it takes too much time. I think you're changing on offense for defense. I think substitutions should take place before the free throw is attempted. And I also think you get a shot clock on free throws. The 24 seconds restart as soon as the ball hits the ground. As soon as they call the foul, you have 24 seconds to step up and take your free throw.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that'd be a good idea. You mentioned substitutions, like maybe you got to substitute in that amount of time before.
Yep.
And once the guy gets ready to shoot, you can't sub in. You have to wait for the next dead ball.
The other thing that a few people have proposed that I do sort of like is in the last 2 minutes of the second and fourth quarter, if you have no longer a foul to give, so you automatically send them to the line, which will prevent less fouling. And if you foul more than twice intentionally, it turns into a technical foul.
That'd be interesting. I think another one maybe they could have played is maybe after 2 minutes, clock just keeps on running. Any foul or stop thing, keeps the clock
Mhm.
moving. So the clock, it's kind of like how it is in a lot of youth sports sometimes when they're like, oh, they just want to get the game done. Well, we
Yeah.
just will have a running clock, and that could be a thing. But I'm not too sure that would be a big thing that would take place in the NBA.
Here's the big one that's not really an encore one, but in my opinion, the NBA playoffs go on too long. Most of these series are 7 game series. I mean, we have 15 playoff series a year, and we get what, 2 or 3 game 7s. I think the NBA playoffs need more urgency, especially in the first and second round. I would shorten those series. I would do what the WNBA has done, which is the first round is a best of three. The home team gets all 3 games at home if need be. The second round is like the ALDS and NLDS in baseball. It's a best of five. Then the conference finals in the NBA finals are a best of 7. I don't think we need 7 game series first, second round. We don't get a ton of them. Most of the top seeds advance anyway in the NBA. And I think it really just slows down the biggest games of the year. Basically, like, I think the NBA should end the finals not in June. I think they should end it Memorial Day weekend because I don't like the fact that you go in the NBA, you go right from the finals to the draft the next week to the free agency the week after that. Like, it gives nobody time to actually evaluate the season.
Yeah, I mean, I liked, kind of going a little bit similar to MLB's playoff style. I mean, I went to a Cavs playoff game last year. It was against the Magic. The game 7 feels like the fans not always in it. Not towards the end or it's a close game, but it feels like the NBA doesn't have the best playoff energy in any of the big four sports. As a lot of people know, usually NHL, MLB, and the NFL usually have the better atmospheres, or even in this college football playoff that the new format take place.
Yeah.
Having that home field advantage. I think that already put it over the NBA playoffs. It doesn't get exciting until Eastern Western Conference Finals, maybe depending on the series, depending on if it's going to be a competitive one or it's going to be a sweep, and then the finals is. It seems like it's been iffy the past couple of years too.
I'm afraid, excuse me, I'm afraid that because of these new NBA media rights deals, obviously with ESPN, NBC, and Amazon, that they are just sort of packing it in like the NBA doesn't really care about the ratings because they're getting these new TV deals. And I don't know, like there's going to be games on NBC, there's going to be games on Peak, there's going to be games on Amazon. It feels like every single night. I am worried a little bit about the NBA's overexposure, putting everybody on national television every single night. I don't know if you have enough teams and enough stars to do that 7 days a week constantly.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. You know how to do it. I know this. I think a lot of the games, that aren't big matchups will just be streaming. So if you have Prime or Peacock, then yeah, you can watch it. If you don't, it's probably on your local network or something. Or I don't know. I know a lot of people are mad that like the NBA and TNT inside the NBA is leaving, but I mean the show they were good, but I don't think they covered much basketball. It
See
feels
that
like
that's my
it feels
take
like
too.
if
Like,
they were it
and
feels
they're
like if the inside the NBA should be like they should just do a podcast, do that. Like
and
they
they're
weren't
not waiting.
really.
They're just going to ESPN. It was very
Yeah.
weird during All Star Weekend. Like the NBA acted like that was the last time Charles, Shaq, Kenny and the crew were ever going to be on TV, and it's like, no, they're just leaving TNT.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. I know ESPN does things differently, and we all know.
We
As
all
I was
know that they're
watching
going to
the
touch it in some way, shape, or form, even though they say they're
Yeah, they're
not. They're
gonna touch
going
it.
to.
Like, I was watching the NHL Stadium Series between the Blue Jackets and Red Wings. And then just ESPN's coverage of the NHL is just ever since they got the rights back to it, it hasn't been that good. And also ESPN in general barely covers the NHL. It's still just the NFL, NBA, college football.
Like that clip from the Brand's World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brand's World podcast right here on YouTube.